All right, ladies and gentlemen, and we are live. Welcome back to another episode of Ancap Radio. I'm your host, Adam Carswell, joined today by my favorite co-host in the whole Ancap wide world, Dave Henderson. Dave, how are you doing for you on this beautiful New Zealand morning?
Good morning, Adam. How did you know it's a beautiful New Zealand morning? And indeed it is weather-wise, but of course, in every other respect, it's struggling. But there is much to enjoy about the weather, isn't there, Adam? Though we are repeatedly told how the weather is fast disintegrating before our eyes, and we're all going to burn, aren't we? Any day now, our blood will boil. So even these small mercies that we have previously been afforded are slowly being stripped from us. But good morning, and you're and enjoying a delightful Floridian afternoon. Sorry, Adam.
That's right. Yeah, I'm in the day that you've already lived through, and great weather here in Tampa. I've forgotten because we moved here last December when the temperatures were close to what they are now. I mean, it was so just brutally hot over the summer. Which
Yes.
I've lived in Belize before. It was nothing too different than that, but you just forget how hot it can get. I know.
Yeah.
We were just talking to a friend of ours here who's in a pretty hot climate as well. But now is that perfect time of now is the time of the year when everyone would really want to vacation to Florida, because it's just I'm trying to think of what it would be in Celsius. I guess around that 20 to 25 range. It's good stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and of course it's fall, and you've obviously experienced real falls, but do you have a perception that you're in fall when you're in Florida?
Yeah, Tampa's interesting for this, and I would think that probably anything north of Tampa would go through something similar. There are leaves falling off of certain trees around here, so you do get that fall feel. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, so I mean, to your point, definitely know what a traditional fall looks like. But Tampa's been pretty impressive. You do have a fall, you do have a spring, but you also don't completely freeze, which is nice.
Yeah. No, of course. No, that's delightful. Well, it's spring here, of course, Adam. So we have all the delights of spring and all the new growth and everything all the joys that spring brings, and it's portent of summer, which is delightful in this part of the world. Not quite as certainly not humid like a Floridian summer, or a stinking hot. But anyway,
in New Zealand, do you still, even though it's I guess fall in the northern hemisphere, you guys you still refer to it as spring?
Oh no, we have autumn in fall, but we have spring in spring. So yeah. So our fall is what we refer to as autumn. I don't know what the history of the term autumn is, but it's the English, as in the UK version of fall. So no, but and then we have spring, but you have spring, right?
We do, and I guess I was wondering. I've never thought about it. I'm wondering, in Brazil, when it's winter here, do they celebrate? Still call it winter, even though it's hot there, or do they call it summer? And everything's just based on
No, that's all beyond me. It's one of the joys of living in the place where I live is that we do have 4 distinct seasons, and I certainly take time to enjoy each one of them in its own unique way, and it's a delightful rhythm. We sort of live in a rural area, and it's a delightful rhythm that you enjoy of the passage of the year and the passing of each of the seasons. But of course, this weekend, Adam, we have the most important anniversary on the anarcho-capitalist calendar.
We do, and before, because I know we're going to go down some rabbit holes here, which I'm looking forward to. So before I forget, we do got to remind all of our listeners here with us live on the replay. Make sure you hit that like button, that retweet button. Good to see those here who are here. You guys are awesome. And then also, if our team could drop a link below to subscribe to ANCAP Radio updates. As you know, we're working on building out an infrastructure here at the website. It's coming soon, ladies and gentlemen. The website is coming soon, along with merch and a lot of other cool things. So just make sure you stay plugged into us via email. We just hired a new producer who's crushing it. So just be ready for a lot of growth and updates on our end. So November 5th, Dave, we al-
There you
we
go.
almost we almost went with some November 5th related branding for ANCAP Radio
Yeah.
when we were getting ready to launch it. And a lot of it was brought to my attention through you. I kind of had heard of the holiday and what it represented, but didn't know much beyond the movie that's associated with it. So do you want to kind of share with our ANCAPs and beyond the significance of November 5th?
Well, of course, it's associated certainly of the UK, and then with that as colonies. It must be celebrated in the same way in Canada, is
I
it,
do think
Adam?
that Canada has some form of recognition of it, definitely more than America would. In the U.S., I think the most exposure anyone would have to to November 5th would be that movie V for Vendetta.
Yeah, yeah, and what a fabulous movie that is! If anyone hasn't watched it, they must, because it certainly should resonate with anyone who has libertarian or ANCAP values. And I'm just trying to
Well,
think
it's interesting that you say that
who it
because I think
was.
one of the number one movies that gets referred to as one that will show you how the world really is. You know, The Matrix. The Matrix gets referred to red pill, blue pill. The red pill is going to help
Sure,
you
sure.
see through the BS. Um, but V
Yeah.
for Vendetta, that's an underestimated ANCAP movie that I think every ANCAP probably should watch along with The Matrix.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. I've watched it numerous times. I don't know, 3 or 4 times. Mostly because I've had guests or friends that I've wanted to introduce the movie to, so I've happily sat through it again. And it is a movie one can watch multiple times. In fact, I should bring it up. I should bring it up again on Sunday night, and indeed watch it. But of course, it centers on what was the famous plot in the UK, and I've just lost the date. It was in the 17th century, of a plot to blow up the Houses of Parliament, and it's a delightful story of a group of conspirators who were Catholic, and of course was seriously they were seriously frustrated with the advancement of the Anglican Church in the UK and wanted to restore Catholic order. And they had been hiding out in Holland, I think, or Belgium. So forgive me, Adam, for sounding so glib. And then they organized themselves and they rented space, funnily enough, in the basement below Parliament, the then Parliament buildings, and loaded it with gunpowder, and we're ready to blow it up when the Parliament was next sitting. But through a very sad series of events, they got found out before they could light the fuse, so to speak. And so it's celebrated as Guy Fawkes Night, and it's celebrated as such. Probably throughout the British Commonwealth, and usually with significant fireworks displays for obvious reasons. But of course, as times advance, fireworks have been deemed to be dangerous, and so I've watched, particularly in my country, as fireworks sales get limited or get banned, and so the opportunity to celebrate is considerably attenuated.
So and maybe I didn't realize that November 5th, it is a fireworks holiday in some of the English colonized countries.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice. I'll have to
Um,
set some off.
yeah. Yeah. And of course, I mean, Asia has become the home of fireworks, hasn't it? But unfortunately, they haven't embraced or celebrated the famous Guy Fawkes celebrations. So there we
No, yeah,
go.
not quite, not quite. But at least they're providing the product. Um,
Yeah.
well, I think there's something to speculate on here. Why is it that? Because I mean, at the end of the day, it is technically a government recognized holiday. Uh, so why is it? Do you
That's
think
right.
that the feds or whatever you want to call them allow and maybe even encourage the celebration of this day? Do you think it's because at the end of the day the quote unquote bad guys got caught, or why do you think
Yeah.
it's still
No, no,
celebrated?
no. Well, I don't think we can romanticize it past that, unfortunately, Adam. Much as we'd like to think that there was some recognition that perhaps the world might have been a better place if the plot had succeeded. Actually, it's a good thing to consider what might have happened had the plot conceded. But unfortunately, we don't have that opportunity. So I'm not sure. I have fondly celebrated since I was a young kid in my country, and I've never investigated as to why it was given so much significance at a societal or state level, and I can only assume it's because it was developed as a bit of fun, and so then it got maintained as a bit of fun to let off fireworks on that night and that occasion. So, and light bonfires.
Right. And I know that we've talked about this on the show before, maybe championing people who make a Guy Fawkes type of effort, towards an authority figure, uh, government, fill in the blank. You sent
Yep.
me a website once, and I'll have to pull it up. There is a place that we can actually go to start looking at people who are fighting the Fed. Right? Do you remember what that website was?
Oh no, I'll have to.
It might have been Sam.
I will have.
Now I think about it.
Yeah. I'll have to recall it, but no, I mean, indeed, it's something we need to do on our station when we flesh it out a bit more. Adam, is we need a weekly dedicated show, and we need to put up a healthy prize each month for the person or group that has a healthy dust up with the state. And I mean, ideally, we want to talk about people that prevail in that dust up, but unfortunately, there's more people that get crushed in that dust
Well,
up.
what we could do is create some. We can probably call it the Guy Fawkes Award or something like
There
that.
you go. There you go. There you go. Well, there you go. We can launch that right now, can't we? Is that we'll create the Guy Fawkes Award, and we need to kick it off. But we need let's think of a healthy prize. Shall we put up if we put up $1,000 US a month, and the Guy Fawkes Prize for the person that's shown the most courage and determination and having a scrap with the state.
I think we'll get a lot of traction quite quickly with that. So, our team, if you could make a note of that as well, and maybe even drop it in the thread below. Ancap
Yep.
Radio is issuing a reward for the Guy Fawkes. It's the Guy Fawkes Award for whoever. How would you describe it, Dave?
Well, whoever has the most meaningful or significant account or report of a dust up with the state in any particular month, and how they ran that, handled that, and ultimately prevailed.
There we go. The winner receives Well, now I'm wondering, do we issue it in cryptocurrency, Dave, or what's the true ANCAP way?
Oh, we we definitely need to issue it in cryptocurrency. You're quite right, Adam. You have to forgive me for my for my minor status failing there. Um, yeah, so you need to do the conversion for me. If it's going to be Bitcoin related, I guess it's however many satoshis is it, Adam? Is that right?
That's right.
That we would be putting out
Or,
there.
or as the
Okay.
as the cool kids would call them, SATs, SATS, short for satoshis. So
Oh, okay? That's
if
cool.
someone in the audience could actually do that math for us real quick, that would be cool. How 1,000 US? What is that in satoshis? See Jackie laughing over
Yeah,
there. Okay,
yeah,
well, I that's phenomenal, Dave, because I know we've talked about that. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. I think this will drive some new eyes and ears to the channel. We also
yeah,
have our space today titled "Living in a non-Ancap world," and I think we were supposed to have as an Ancap, but I don't think the title could could handle all of those words. So, I
yeah,
mean, what
yeah.
does that mean to you?
Well, I mean, it's a topic that we often discuss on this show, isn't it? And a question we often put to our guests is, where do they think is the best jurisdiction in the world to live, where one can most live an NCAP or free life, correct?
That is correct. Yep.
And I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Is that as one builds into this philosophy, one's mind naturally turns to where should one live? Where could one live this life more fully? And I have to say, after many, many years of pondering that proposition and being engaged in many pursuits towards that end, the reality is that one place is as ultimately as bad as the other in a myriad of ways. So it doesn't matter where one lives in this on this planet. One is going to be subject to a whole bunch of statist forces, and one's existence is going to be guided and influenced in a significant way, or affected, I should say, in a significant way by statist forces. So then perhaps a more practical way of dealing with this issue is to say, how does one live a ANCAP existence? In other words, live one's values in a jurisdiction that is going to be socialist, collectivist to some degree or t'other. And it's a very interesting question in my view, because I think the fundamental thing one has to do is actually, firstly, be crystal clear about what one's values are. Does that sound like a sound starting spot?
It does, and it reminds me of. I mean, I think really just when you and I first got connected, I remember you sharing that and thinking to myself how prioritizing my worldview and all that I do has really paid off and benefited. But I never thought about it that way until I heard you mention it. So I agree. We also have a caller right now. So let me go ahead
Right.
and bring AW up here. But yeah, does what I'm saying resonate with you as well?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, very much. One has to be clear about one's values, and then one has to decide which values are you willing to die in a ditch for, and which values are you going to see compromised. But there is a sound, practical reason for that compromise.
AW, welcome to the show. If you could just let us know where you're tuned in from and what your question is, we'll take it from there.
Manchester, New Hampshire.
Nice. I heard New Hampshire's that's one of the most free states as well.
Yeah. You're talking about trying to be free in an unfree world, and I found a lot of freedom here in New Hampshire. Part of the Free State Project, and I'm sure you're aware of that. But
Yep.
mostly, it's a matter of having good community, and the thing is that freedom means different things to different people. I asked someone who's been to Afghanistan, what does freedom mean to you? And he said it means being able to sleep soundly at night. And
Right.
so there's all different kinds of freedom, and quite honestly, uh, if when I was in my mid-20s, I would go to the Porcupine Freedom Festival, also known as Pork Fest. If you haven't been, I recommend checking it out.
Right.
But the whole thing is that liberty in my lifetime, right? And so I have to ask myself, well, if I want to understand liberty, I need to understand enslavement. So
Right.
I then must ask, what is enslaving me? And then I meet some cool people. I work on some cool projects here in New Hampshire, and come back a year later, and it's like, it's the government clearly with their checkpoints and et cetera, that's what's enslaving me. And then I go and I grow a little older and wiser, and then I discover that, well, no, it's financial control. The banks are enslaving me. And then, round and round it goes. I have more life experience, and then I discover, well, no, there's actually spiritual forces of wickedness in high places, and those are enslaving me. And then finally, I come to the understanding that I enslave myself, and
There you go.
that has been an extremely liberating realization.
Cool. No, that's a wonderful observation. And AW, what would you say is the main way or main process, or that you end up enslaving yourself, through which you end up enslaving yourself?
Sin.
Yeah, okay. All right. So, and let's define sin in this context. So, sin is acting contrary to, we'll say, sound moral principles.
Yeah, that's a good starting point.
Cool. And so, therefore, if we just boil that back, that you are suggesting that one of the most important things, therefore, for an individual is to sort out their morality.
Yeah, with fear and trembling. I think that the government exists because there's a market for it, because people demand that it exists. And
Right.
people demand a state because they're afraid of their neighbor, and they've gotten burned. Try renting an apartment in Massachusetts
Right.
and see just how much paperwork is there. And it's like, every single time there's ever some shady deal or somebody not acting as they ought to, let's say, people say, well, we need to make a law. And then the laws just become onerous and complex, and it's really the present set of laws are a kind of institutional memory of all of the crimes that people have committed in the past. And
Sure.
so
Sure.
the best way for me to be free and encourage freedom amongst my community is to act a certain way, to comport my behavior such that people do not demand a state after interacting with me.
Right, and no, that's a wonderful aspiration, and it's a good question of how many of you does it take acting in that way before all of a sudden there is a significant influence occurring. And of course, as you know, that's the purpose of what we're trying to do and trying to build here is encourage people as a consequence of their interaction with us to stop demanding a state. But let's just investigate that for a moment, AW. What do you think it is? What is the fundamental flaw in people that ends up with people demanding or wanting a state?
The desire for control.
No, but go back to individuals, because if you're demanding a state, so you're saying you take a typical individual, they want to see government exist, they want to see government grow, they want to see government have more control and influence in their lives. But what is the state fulfilling that they think they need?
They view the state as an apparatus through which they can remake the world in their own image.
There you go. No, that's a wonderful observation. So, and I agree with you completely. So the issue therefore is that they haven't properly sorted out, as we were talking about a few moments ago. They haven't properly sorted out a sound moral philosophy, would we say?
Yeah, that it's tough because there are certain how would you call it, interrelated effects, I guess, where it's not like if when I move, if I get into an elevator and I start going up, I'm reaching the top at the same rate that I'm leaving the bottom. Do you see how they're like inverses of one another? So
sure, sure.
It's so. So the thing is that when people, the people, I cannot. It's very difficult for me because I need to be very careful with my words, as I don't want to collectivize. Right, I want to treat people as individuals. So every time I say the word, people, I kind of like cringe inside.
Sure.
But I'll say in my experience, there's the process of good moral discovery can only take place when one has the courage to confront evil. And that I think a lot of people are very comfortable, certainly in the United States. And when people are comfortable, they don't step outside that comfort zone, and they never grow.
Okay.
And so,
yeah, no, I'm with you. So just AW, just one final question here is, just tell us what are two or three of the values that you hold as you try and live a freer existence that you'd be willing to die for.
Speak the truth in love.
Right.
That's and my ability to worship. That's like, if there is no negotiation on me going to worship on the Sabbath, for example. Yep. Like that's a hard limit. So, but and the thing with the evil, just to make sure that I say this, is that a lot of people are horrified and just completely live in abject terror of chaos. To them, chaos is the most, like, well, if the government's not in charge, it would be like chaos, and they're afraid of chaos. But what I think, if they were to do the shadow work on themselves and look for the evil within, they might discover something similar to what I have discovered, which is that what's most horrifying is just how orderly and cold it is, right? Like, it's this kind of evil that is just systematized and preys on people's weaknesses in a very orderly fashion. That's horrifying. to me,
Sure.
not
Right.
chaos.
Right. Okay. No, that's excellent. But isn't it? It's liberating, isn't it, when one can properly think through one's values and one can properly determine what things one is willing to die for, or the extent in respect of any particular thing one is willing to go to defend or protect that thing. So, so good work.
Thank you. I appreciate your insightful questions.
Okay, thanks.
Great,
AW.
hey, great having you here, AW. Appreciate it, and yeah, we look forward to seeing you on some future spaces. Reminder to you and everyone here tuned in, if you're not already, make sure you follow Ancap Radio, everyone up here on stage, and we are going to be going live for another 28 minutes here, so if you do want to call in, ask any questions, make any comments, go right ahead. As a reminder, whether you're here live or on the replay, we'll have a tweet going out here soon if it's not already. We are officially donating, we'll use the right words here, Dave, donating $1,000 to the winner of the first ever Guy Fawkes Award. What is the Guy Fawkes Award? An award for someone who takes on the state and wins. So if you want to nominate someone or a story, whoever it may be, just tweet at us here at ANCAP Radio. We'll review the nominations over the next month, and we'll put a deadline on it. But I'd say by the end of the month, we will have a winner of the first ever Guy Fawkes Award. And I see we got a few callers coming in here now. Awesome. So we'll get you guys up here in a moment. Dave, any thoughts on that as we bring up our next callers?
No, it's the fundamental aspect, isn't it, of what we're doing, is trying to encourage the people to think about these things and incite, if to the extent that we can, some civil disobedience, and in a very orderly, rational way, championing these values.
Absolutely. And we have a long-time listener, but I believe first-time caller, Jackie, here. So, Jackie, if you could just let us know where you're tuned in from and what your question or comment is.
Hey, yeah, Central North Carolina here in the States. Man, I love listening to you guys. I love listening to Jeff and the whole Acapulco thing, the whole ANCAP thing. That is a true belief that I believe in personally. But as Dave he'll sit and question me like, okay, if that's what you believe in, okay, give me these reasons. But I'm going to shut up for a second because I wanted to come up here and tell you about the BTC conversion. It was like 0.027617 at the very time, and plus the gas fees and stuff. So, but it's still a great deal, though, man. I love that.
That's sensational. So that's what our prize is it, Jackie?
Yeah,
the conversion. You've got the conversion there to Satoshis or Sats, as Adam was schooling me.
Yeah, he put it into the Sats. That's what they refer to it now, Dave. But I'm here in the United States, and if we could reel back in the whole governmental overreach thing, which our Constitution was founded upon, and I know people don't like the whole country scenario and the borders and everything like that, but I truly believe that I still call it the Great American Experiment because there was no other constitution that gave all the things of rights from our Creator. Do you think?
Yep.
I was getting ready to say, do you think that could work for people? Because I believe that's why we get so many people here in the States, so that wants to move here.
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, America in its original concept, Jackie, is just such a glorious thing. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? But as Jefferson observed, is that you actually need a revolution about every 20 years. So we're a couple of hundred years overdue for a revolution, aren't we? It's the natural course of things. Again, to quote Jefferson, is that governments grow and people shrink. and of course that's what's happened in America, and the reason, as you're observing, that people flock to America is actually because of the residues or last vestiges of that delightful experiment, of that delightful constitutional republic that was established, that's left. And that's what's got to be fought for, doesn't it? It's what's the future? What's the prognosis? Well, there'll be a little bit of pushback, and then there'll be further advancement of the state, and that's going to go on for some time, in my view.
Dave, I kind of hope you're wrong on the pushback and how the republic is finally settled in the end, and hopefully we'll go back to our roots. That's what I push for. That's why I remain in the United States. I could move to Mexico, or I could move.
Yep.
I actually love Belize and Central America, places like that. But I remain here in the United States because I want to push back, because I believe these people here that has advanced their agenda here in the States have did it under some kind of code or, some malfeasance. It wasn't something that we, the people, gave up. It was our representatives that misrepresented us.
Yeah, it is. And in a way, funnily enough, Jackie, it's sadly, it's a product of affluence in lots of respects. As people do become more affluent, they do become a bit more casual and lazy and bloated and worst of all, tolerant of the state's excesses. And so much of this is a consequence of gradualism, isn't it? Where we compare today to yesterday and we say, okay, no, well, that's all cool, we're all right. But if you were to compare it to perhaps, let's say, for example, the second half of the 19th century in the US, which was truly, looks to me to be a glorious time, you would say, we have so screwed this up.
Yes, sir, Dave. And that's what I was saying. I believe people became so apathetic and wasn't involved that they forgot where they came from and what got them there. But yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys, man. I just wanted to come up and say that I'm still here in the United States and I'm still fighting for the republic, the great American experiment, as I call it, that's still going to move forward in the future. But I love all the ANCAP values. I hope everybody in Acapulco is okay. I know Jeff has been doing a whole lot of work, and everybody, but I appreciate each and every one. I just want to come up and give my 2 cents. Love you guys.
Yeah, you're a star. Thank you, Jackie.
Yeah, thank you, Jackie. Great to finally hear from you, because I know I've seen your name out there a lot. And who knows, we might have the winner of the first ever Guy Fawkes Award emerge from Acapulco. I'm sure Jeff is a bit of a shoo-in for that contest, so he might divert to someone else. But I saw Dave how he was talking about how they're attempting to make Acapulco a 15-minute city now, and so I haven't watched any of the videos or anything yet, but it looks like Jeff's fighting the fight that he always does, which is good.
Fantastic.
We have our buddy Jaffer. Thank you, Jackie. Jaffer is here calling in. Jaffer, for those who aren't familiar with you, I know we've gotten to know you pretty well now, but let us all know where you're tuned in from and what your question or comment is today, good sir.
Hi, Adam. Hi, Dave. Hi, guys. How are you?
Hey, Jaffer. Hi. Great.
Yeah, I'm calling from Canada, Montreal, Canada, and it is a little bit frisky these days. Okay, around 7 or 5 degrees Celsius. Yeah, winter is coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to just speak about the image of the government in one's head. I mean, it's directly related to the image of the father. Okay. So, because you have already spoken about there is a work to do on oneself, Yep. As long as the image of the government is related to the figure of the father, the same way like religion, the image of God, and things like
Okay.
this. It goes way back to the psychology of depth or the psychoanalysis. And if somebody wanna make a work on oneself, should go there and try to find out what relates him to this thing of the government, all of this stuff. I
Yeah.
wanted to say something else too. You can be free in the United States, in New Hampshire, or in Florida, like you are there now, Dave, Adam. Sorry. But when it comes like law enforcement and things like that, when you want to go out, take your plane or a boat or what else, you need to go to the federal authorities, okay? And it's the same thing in any kind of government. So according to this, every country has his laws, and when, for example, you want to move out and find a country where it seems to be free, you have always to look into that, into how they enforce their laws, and is it free to go out, and all of this stuff when it comes to
Right.
government laws, okay?
Right.
And my final question for you, Dave, I don't know so far, but have you lived the hippie period? What was your
Have I lived
age?
in what?
The
What's
hippie,
my age?
yeah, the hippie period. Did you live that
Oh,
period?
are you a hippie?
Oh, the hippie period. No,
Yeah.
no, no, no. I'm still a wee bit. I was a wee bit too young for that, Jaffa. But
Okay.
I assume I'm not far off your age.
So the
But
same
no,
same way.
the hippie period. No, that was fascinating. But for better
Yeah.
or worse, I missed it. But
So
you tell me. Just go back to your point about what you're saying, Jaffa. If I understand correctly, is you're saying that the state is patriarchal in nature. That people want these fatherly values from the state. Is that, have I
yeah.
understood correctly?
This is the reason. One of the reasons of the compliance for every law that comes from the government. Okay.
Yeah,
There's this
yeah,
patriarchal figure. They need it.
yeah,
They need
yeah,
it
yeah,
because. Okay, so you get the point.
yeah. So, but isn't the issue there that the essence of growing up is getting to a point where one can take responsibility for one's own life, and one can leave one's patriarchal childhood and move into the big wide world.
I'm completely agreeing with you, Dave. Since right from the very start, this is what I'm hearing in this radio and things like that.
Right.
But what we are saying, it's a really hard work on oneself. Do you
Yeah.
agree with that? So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not easy. It's not easy, really easy. It goes way back to the psychology and
Yeah.
very deep psychology. Okay,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's really hard to make work on oneself without help. Okay,
Yeah.
and
That,
it goes.
you're absolutely right. No, I'm with you, Jaffer. I mean, the essence of socialism, the essence of any form of collectivism, is a complete failure to grow up, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think who is the philosopher who spoke about that? I don't know if it was Kant or Nietzsche. Maybe Nietzsche. Yeah.
Maybe Nietzsche. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Is that there is a complete failing to grow up, and so people want to live their lives as you're describing with patriarchal
And
forces.
what we are speaking now, unfortunately, it brings all the religion into that. Mostly the Abrahamic religions. Okay, they are
Yeah,
all collectivism, and the figure of the patriarch is there. Okay,
yeah,
without any doubt. Okay,
yeah, yeah,
so don't be astonished to see of this person complying with all the terms and all the doctrines of these religions, ready to kill for them and things like that. because
There
this
you go.
figure is way, 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 way deep into their personality. Okay, since the childhood, and that's the problem. Okay,
Yeah.
I had a question before I leave for you, Dave, relating to hippies. I want to make it clear what is the link between the libertarian philosophy and the hippie philosophy.
Yeah.
Is there a relationship or things like that? What is your point on that?
Oh yeah, very much. I mean, hippies are wanting to embrace libertarian values, but not with, but avoiding completely the responsibility that unavoidably comes with those. And that is a problem, isn't it? Is that people want freedom, but they don't want to pay the price of freedom. And paying the price of freedom means taking complete responsibility for your life and your existence. And unfortunately, you can be promised, or you can pursue freedom without responsibility. But at the end of the day, that's a dead end street.
Okay, I see that. So this is the difference between them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
So
that, and in my view, I mean, it's again, I think it's, I've never been into drugs, and my observation of people who pursue reasonably heavy drugs, and indeed marijuana.
I understand. I understand what you mean, and I will give you a present by reminding you for a very beautiful film, unless if you have already seen it. Okay, so take note. It is called More, M-O-R-E. It is exactly about the hippie movement and the fall of the hippie movement. And it took place in Ibiza in Spain.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
it's an old film. Try to find it out in the internet more. And all the music of this film, the soundtrack, is the Pink Floyd album, which is called More. Okay, try to find out Pink Floyd album More. It is the soundtrack of this film.
Okay.
So I hardly advise you to look into this film. It is the how do we call it? It is Barbet Schroeder, the guy who did this film. Barbet Schroeder. Okay. Is a French German movie maker. So it speaks about that. Okay.
No, I'll look it up. I appreciate that, Jeffrey, and as always, I appreciate talking to you.
Thank you
very much,
Jeff. Yeah, and if you could drop a link to that in the thread, we'll take a look. Always.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got about 10 minutes here before we wind down today. If you're tuned in or listening on the replay, make sure you hit the like button, the retweet button. And if you do want to get up here, ask any questions, comments, all you got to do is tap the request to speak button there, the bottom of your screen, or on your desktop. That's right. We just figured out not too long ago you can actually tune into Twitter Spaces from desktop now, which is nice. But Dave, we're talking about a lot of principles and foundational ways of living as an ANCAP, as a true ANCAP. And I think some things that Jaffer was bringing up there, and even you referenced, a lot of the times it can seem like we have this massive mountain to climb and overcome when it comes to the state, oppression, fill in the blank.
Yeah.
What do you think practically is a good first step to taking full responsibility? I mean, it's a big statement too when you break it down, right? Full responsibility for your life. Yeah. Like what is the first step?
Well, I think, Adam, the very first step is, as you were alluding to just then, is understanding exactly what that means, what that concept means. I mean, one can look at microcosms before one looks at macrocosms, and there's always examples in your own life where you leave home and you go out and work. And with working and producing, you have some money in your pocket. And that brings some freedom, doesn't it? So I mean that's a good example. One has wants and wishes, and you start to take responsibility for those by going out into the world and producing and trying to create some wealth. And then with all of a sudden, with that wealth, you've got a lot more freedom, haven't you? So the point being is that the question one should then ask is, well, if I take even more responsibility for my life, what more freedom could I create, and what are the limits on that? And, one of the key things to do, in my view, to take responsibility, to advance one's personal responsibility, is to figure out one's values. You every day we make choices, hundreds, if not thousands of choices every day. And you cannot make a single choice, whether it's to go to McDonald's or go to KFC. If those are your two options, you can't make a choice without referencing some values that you hold, And so if your values are all held innately, instinctively, if you like, and they're not things that you have properly reasoned through, then you're just going to be making knee-jerk decisions and just becoming, in lots of respects, just an automaton who's wandering along the street, not sure exactly or can't explain exactly why you are doing what you are doing. So, this is, I think, is the key element, Adam, is first of all understanding what personal responsibility really means. And then secondly, as much as possible, trying to have a conscious set of values in all areas of life and being able to articulate them, being able to explain them, being able to defend them.
And I totally agree there, and I've got some follow up. I just noticed we did have our first nomination for the Guy Fawkes Award. Although I noticed in AW, I don't know if you're still here, and maybe we need to be more clear on this. The person that was nominated looks like they've passed away, so we do want to give this award to somebody who we can actually give it to. So keep that in mind, guys. But thank you, AW.
I guess we should make an exception if they passed away in the pursuit of tackling the state. Well, then that deserves some respect, doesn't it, Adam?
We'll create an award for that too, I suppose.
Yeah, there you go. The posthumous Guy Fawkes Award.
But what I'd like to know, Dave, from getting to know you, you've done pretty well for yourself, and you've fought the state and won, and just have all kinds of really fascinating stories. And I would say, in a way, from what I've picked up on, getting to know a few other people in New Zealand, you are kind of like the Doug Casey of New Zealand. A lot of people there know you for what you've accomplished or what you've done. Are there any areas of your life where you still feel a bit limited as far as freedom and responsibility are? Is there any areas where you kind of wish that the state existed less?
Oh yeah, very much so, Adam. I mean, I like you, I live in this delusion that one day that's going to come to pass. But it's the reality is that's a long journey, but it needs to be embarked on. So the answer is my world is full of those frustrations. But I think it's one of the great things as you get a bit older and as you do work on yourself, as we've talked about, and you do work on your values, that you can reconcile that situation a lot more readily or a lot more easily. And look, I take my personal value, if you like, is in this respect, is I take every opportunity I can to push back on the state. And there's practical things that one needs to do to comply. I mean, taxation is a wonderful example. One can work hard to mitigate the effects of taxation, but at the end of the day, as an ANCAP, you've still got to resolve that you're going to cut a check and pay the state, because that's a lot more or a lot easier solution at this point in time than refusing to pay them and ending up incarcerated for the rest of your life. But that shouldn't stop you as you do that, bitching and moaning and complaining and trying to encourage as many other people as possible to bitch, moan, and complain, and try and get the level of taxation down, as an example.
Now, this weekend, and I guess it would be maybe just a couple days for you, November 5th, Guy Fawkes Day. You do a little bit of, I don't know if I would call it a ceremony, but I like your approach to what's coming on Sunday. I might have to recreate that for my friends and family as well. Could you let our audience know what I'm referring to?
Oh, no, we will. I'll be working. We'll build a 4 or 5 meter high effigy of a tax collector, and the tax collectors, of course, represent, for me at the moment, the very worst of the state. They are just thugs and who think they're doing God's work, and that as a consequence of their efforts, we're building hospitals, schools, and roads, which of course is a complete nonsense. We'd build better hospitals, schools, and roads if they weren't involved. So we'll build a 5 meter high effigy of a tax collector, Adam, and we will stack him, I guess. Could be a her. It could be a transgender. Who knows? There's plenty of options for us these days, isn't it? But for the purpose of this discussion, we'll assume it's a him. We'll stack him on top of a bonfire and set fire to it. And with that, we will feel as if we were honouring the intentions of Guy Fawkes.
And did I hear correct? You said, in my mind, I was envisioning maybe 1, maybe 2 meters. You said 5 meters high?
Oh yeah, no, it's got to be a decent effigy, doesn't it? It's you want to see him burn from a distance.
That's right. All right. Well, yeah, I love it, and definitely inspiring for some future celebrations as well. So we're going to go ahead and wind it down here. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into ANCAP Radio. As a reminder, go ahead and follow everyone up here on stage. Retweet it, like it, get it out to your friends and family. We've got a lot more coming. Dave, what would you say was your biggest takeaway from today's conversation?
Well, it's I always just get so inspired when I hear people talk about understanding when I hear people talk about understanding the essence of the state. Our friend Jaffa was talking about it in terms of a patriarchal structure, and that's a delightful observation, of course, and our discussion around the fact that socialism, collectivism, they are all the philosophies of the immature and the childish. They are the philosophies of people that have just failed completely to grow up and to take the big step of stepping into the real world and taking complete responsibility for their existence. So that was great.
Couldn't agree more. I think my biggest takeaway was just the reminder, and something that I think we need to always keep in mind to bring up on the show as we grow and we bring in new ears and new eyeballs here, is the reminder to get clear on your values as often as you can, because whether you're paying attention to it or not, every decision you make daily does tie back to your values and how you see the world. And that can get you pretty far when to your point, when you're aligned.
Yeah, isn't it? And I mean, you're a new parent, Adam, and I think the single greatest gift any parent can give their children is to get them to absolutely understand their core values.
Completely agree, and you're right. I mean, I'm looking forward to it as as my little ones, plural now, grow up and are able to understand what we're talking about today. So thank you, Dave.
Fantastic. Thank you, Adam.
All right.
All right.
Ladies and gents, thank you for tuning into another episode here on Ancap Radio. We'll be back live Wednesday, 12 o'clock Eastern Time with SWP, Strategic Wealth Preservation, for another episode of their feature on our channel, Inside the Vault. We've got a lot more coming for you here in the next few months. Stay tuned. The Ancap Radio website is coming soon, and it's looking great. I mean, we've really, I'd say we've outdone ourselves, and I know Dave and I are looking forward to the official launch. So thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you next week in the next episode.